Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Monday, April 29th, 2024. I am Lance Brock. Hope everyone is having a great Monday morning so far. And tonight, the 2024 WWE Draft wraps up tonight on the final night, and Friday night on the start of it on SmackDown. Just my opinion of the first night of this year's draft, maybe a little underwhelming. I don't know if I would really rank it on the list of best draft episodes WWE has done, but like I talked about on 360 Wrestling Fanatic the other night, was that one thing about the draft shows is that usually the actual wrestling on the shows usually isn't the main thing on the show. Of course, more of the focus is on the draft picks. So usually going into it, you're not really going to get that wrestling heavy of a show. But tonight, night 2 of the WWE Draft will be live from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri, and is also the go-home episode of Raw before this Saturday's Backlash Premium Live event. Here, Eastern Time starts at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and tonight on Raw we will have the return of the WWE United States Champion Logan Paul coming back to Raw, and we will have an appearance from the new WWE Women's World Champion Becky Lynch after winning the title last week, and in a 6-man tag team match. Main event, Jey Uso teams up with Ricochet and Andrade El Idolo to take on the Judgment Day. And of course, like I have mentioned already, the conclusion of the 2024 WWE Draft. And to go back what I was talking about earlier, how I thought night 1 of the draft was kind of a little underwhelming, and the reason I thought so is because other than maybe a few picks or so, there wasn't that many things getting shaken up. It seemed like a lot of picks were wrestlers that were already on that brand. This year, we know that the rules that champions are excluded from the draft, except for the women's tag team champions, since they are on both brands. And then once they lose the titles, they will go to either Raw or SmackDown. And injured superstars, I believe, also are not eligible for the draft. and we had Paul Heyman announce that Roman Reigns was taking himself out of the draft as well. But one pick that I did like last Friday night on SmackDown, that was Braun Breaker going over to Raw. I hope this means that they'll continue to push him. On SmackDown recently, they've been just having him win pretty much squash matches, which is good. They should have him go out there and look dominant, just run through people. But I think eventually you will have to give them more, I guess you could say, stiffer competition. Put them in there with some more actually well-known guys. And then let him go on a long, undefeated streak to where he possibly maybe gets a shot at the United States Championship against Logan Paul. And then you could have Logan Paul possibly drop the U.S. title to Braun Breaker. I'm just kind of fantasy booking there, but that's kind of like how I would like to see them use Braun Breaker on Raw. I mentioned Backlash France coming up this Saturday on Peacock and WWE Network everywhere else. I'll talk more about that Saturday here on Good Morning Wrestling Fans. And that is all for this Monday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. Thank you, everyone. Oh, but before I wrap up, I just forgot something real quick. Last night was WWE Superstar Sunday on A&E. We started off with WWE Rivals, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T. And they were going to show probably the most famous segment with those two involved. Yep, I'm talking about the grocery store. And don't get me wrong, I know with the alliance coming in, WCW and ECW, Austin and Booker had a feud, but that's not really one that I would think of one of the all-time famous, legendary rivals, though, especially with Austin. And yes, I know they already did Stone Cold and The Rock, but it was a pretty good show, though, I admit. Of course, showing the grocery store, probably the most famous thing during their rivalry. And then WWE's Most Wanted Treasures, The Miz, looking for the gear he wore when he won his first WWE Intercontinental Champion against Christian, and some of his other gear as well. Also, him and Mick Foley were on his bus, and he found his awesome glasses that he wore and some other things, and he was nice and donated the stuff to them. So that was WWE Superstar Sunday from last night. And now that is all for this Monday morning episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate everyone listening. Hope everyone enjoys the conclusion of the draft tonight. I definitely hope to be here for a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic After Raw. And I will be back tomorrow morning for the Tuesday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. So hope everyone listening right now will join me then too. But until then, have a great pro wrestling day.